Was she a victim or a willing participant in a nightmare woven with shadows and whispered promises? Antoinette Rose, wife of Jean, a name etched in the cold stone of Villars Chabod, wasn't born into heresy. It was found, meticulously documented, a chilling tapestry of confessions and accusations, a descent into a world of demons and forbidden rituals. Let's unravel the unsettling story of a woman caught in a web of dark desires and unsettling devotion. The air in the castle keep hung thick with damp and the scent of beeswax, a sterile counterpoint to the chaos unfolding within. Vice-Inquisitor Hugonod, a man whose face seemed perpetually sculpted by suspicion, presided over the proceedings. He wasn't interested in justice, not really. He was interested in extracting a truth, a confession, a soul, and Antoinette, pale and fragile, was his quarry. It began, predictably, with denials. "I know nothing about the said crime," she'd repeated, a mantra against the rising tide of accusations. A simple statement, yet it echoed through the halls of Villars Chabod, a defiant whisper against the relentless pressure. The inquisitors, a grim assembly of stern faces and unwavering faith, pressed on, a methodical dismantling of her life, her relationships, her very identity. The first witnesses were like stepping stones across a treacherous landscape. Francois Tavan, Jean Tavan's wife, a woman with a reputation as sharp as shattered glass, was a point of contention. "Have they been at loggerheads?" the inquisitor demanded. "No," Antoinette insisted, her voice barely audible. "A lie perhaps, but a small one, a shield against the storm." Claude Vincent Champagnet, a man with a good name and a good reputation, was similarly cleared. Jeanette Faber, wife of Claude, and Peronette Mislier Buvard, as she was known, were also innocent, their lives meticulously vetted, their connections carefully examined. Then came Masset Garin, the catalyst, the dark seed from which Antoinette's downfall bloomed. He was drowned for heresy, a grim punctuation mark in the unfolding narrative. He was the one who offered Antoinette a lifeline, a promise of wealth, of escape from her debts to the volatile president of Geneva, Bertrand de Daria. He spoke of remedies, of men who would grant her desires, of a world beyond her current misery. The details as they emerged were grotesque and unsettling. A summer feast day, a road trip to Annecy, a desperate plea for help. Masset, a man consumed by darkness, steered Antoinette towards a synagogue, a gathering of heretics, a grotesque parody of worship. The description was chilling, screaming as though they were mad and dancing in a circle corribant, which they did backwards. The scene was further corrupted by the presence of a demon, a figure described as a black human being, demanding homage, promising riches in exchange for allegiance. The confessions piled up, each more disturbing than the last. Antoinette denied knowing the rituals, the dances, the bizarre acts of reverence, but the details she provided were too precise, too vivid to be mere fabrication. She admitted to denying God, to spitting on a crucifix, to embracing the demon, kissing his foot, and ultimately to engaging in acts of bestiality alongside Masset and others. The inquisitor, unmoved by her protests, saw only evidence of her guilt. He ordered the instruments of torture, a chilling prelude to a process designed not to reveal truth, but to break a spirit. The first session was a brutal ballet of restraint and pressure. Antoinette, bound and suspended 3 cubits above the ground, endured the agonizing weight, a silent testament to her defiance. The next days were a cycle of renewed questioning, of escalating pressure, of agonizing delays. The procurator François Ferraud intervened, seeking an interlocutory sentence, a judgment before the full trial, a calculated move to expedite the process and perhaps to break Antoinette's resistance. Her silence, her refusal to cooperate, only fueled the inquisitor's determination. The interrogations became increasingly focused on her past, on the people she knew, on the connections that might expose her to further suspicion. She recognized Francois, Claude Vincent Champagnet, Jeanette Faber, and Peronette Mislier, all women with good reputations, all seemingly unconnected to the heresy. But her recognition of Masset Garin, the architect of her downfall, was a chilling confirmation of her involvement. Then came the details of her debts to the president of Geneva, the desperate circumstances that led her to seek help from a man steeped in darkness. The accusations of kidnapping, the desperate attempt to save her son, all served to paint a portrait of a woman driven to extremes by poverty and despair. The final confession was a harrowing account of her participation in the synagogue rituals, a descent into a world of demonic influence and forbidden practices. She described the demon Robinette, his distorted voice, his promises of wealth and power, and the horrifying acts she was compelled to perform. She spoke of the strange dances, the animalistic couplings, the reverence offered to a black dog, a grotesque parody of worship. The Inquisitor, satisfied that he had extracted a complete confession, delivered his interlocutory sentence. He invoked the name of Christ, declaring Antoinette guilty of heresy and ordering her to be subjected to torture until the truth was revealed. He forbade the shedding of her blood, but the threat of pain, of degradation, was a far more potent weapon. The scene in the place of torture was a tableau of suffering and despair. Antoinette, bound and suspended, endured the agonizing pressure, her body racked with pain, her spirit seemingly unbroken. She begged for respite, for a moment of reflection, but the Inquisitor remained implacable. The days that followed were a relentless cycle of interrogation, torture, and false hope. Antoinette, worn down by the ordeal, finally confessed, revealing the full extent of her involvement in the heretical activities. She spoke of the other synagogues, the rituals performed, the demons encountered, the sacrifices made. The evidence, meticulously gathered by the Inquisitors, presented a chilling picture of a woman consumed by darkness, a victim of manipulation and despair. Her confession, though undoubtedly coerced, provided a definitive judgment. Antoinette Rose, wife of Jean, was declared a heretic and sentenced to death. But the story doesn't end there. The final days of Antoinette's life remain shrouded in mystery. Did she face the executioner's blade? Was she burned at the stake, a victim of religious fanaticism and political intrigue? The records are silent, leaving her fate an unsettling, unanswered question. Was Antoinette Rose a willing participant in a dark conspiracy, seduced by promises of wealth and power? Or was she a pawn in a larger game, a victim of manipulation and coercion? The truth, like the shadows of Villars Chabod, remains elusive, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most ordinary lives. And did she ever truly escape the clutches of the demon, Robinette, or did he continue to haunt her, a constant reminder of her descent into heresy?